So let's invite the Miss Nachombe, Kandila. Based on the time management, I want to ask each presenter, please give your presentation within 20 minutes, please. Thank you.
To speak to the fecal sludge management. And I'd like to mention that here in Zambia, the structure is that the Ministry of Water and Rural Development is the overarching ministry on water and sanitation matters. And Ministry of Local Government, through the local authorities, provide services as well as enforcement. So I will take you through the fecal sludge management chain, of course, drawing from experience working for the local authority, which is Lusaka City Council, and my work there directly relating to enforcement matters. Technology is failing me. Okay, so that's my presentation outline. We'll go to the next slide. I would like to just take you through a few terminologies relating to on-site sanitation and sanitation service chains. So my presentation is mostly on on-site sanitation, which is closely related to fecal sludge management. However, I thought I describe both on-site and off-site. So basically off-site is where fecal matter or wastewater that is generated within a property or within a premises is taken away from the plot to be safely treated or managed elsewhere. When it comes to on-site sanitation, you have a containment within the property and that the wastewater and the fecal matter is then stored within the property to be collected for further treatment at a later stage. Fecal sludge management is basically the storage, collection, transportation, and treatment of safe end use or disposal of fecal sludge. When we talk about container-based sanitation, which is something which I will speak to closely, this is where wastewater or human excreta is captured in a sealable container to be later transported to a treatment facility. I also wanted to bring to your attention a few terminologies which I'll be using in my presentation, which it'll be good for you to understand. So when you look at the slide, could we, I'm so sorry, the pointer is not working for me. So we got the next slide. Next slide again. Yeah, okay. So if you look here, we have got more like different colorations there. The browner or the more brown you have in the columns means the strength, that is the concentration of fecal matter in the water. And then the dilution, of course, is the more amount of water that you have in your wastewater. So we have sludge, which is found in pits or container-based sanitation, and also septage, which comes from septic tanks. Both are referred to as fecal sludge. And then where you have more dilution, usually you have a sewer network that's referred to as sewage. Next slide, please. Okay. So when it comes to on-site sanitation and fecal sludge management, over the years, as was presented by the first presenter, from the early 2000s, our focus was mostly on access to these facilities. So if you remember from the MDGs, the issue was relating to just access. Do people have access to these facilities? But after 2015, we've been looking at sustainable development goals, which doesn't just look at a community or the population having access to a facility, but basically the whole service chain, which talks about the interface, emptying, conveyance treatment, and end or safe reuse, as been depicted in the picture there. Next slide, please. So what is the issue with fecal sludge management? Basically, the issue that is there is at every stage of fecal sludge management, there's a high possibility of contamination or contamination where the environment or the humans who are living in that area, or basically communities can be exposed to fecal matter. So at each stage of the sanitation chain, as has been depicted here, at the capture level, there where you use the facility, what the breach that is there is that people don't actually use facilities. That is where now open defecation comes in, and the environment or communities can come into contact with the fecal matter. At containment level, which is there, it can be a septic tank, it can be a sealed containment or any of that sort. There's a possibility of having leakages if not well contained or not well designed, thereby exposing the environment or the community. When it comes to emptying, at emptying stage, which is that part into the transportation, if it's not well, the facility that you're using, of course, if it's not well designed or the approach that you're using is it's not eco-friendly, or it's not allowing for safe emptying, you end up with spillages, which will again contaminate the environment and the like. Then also at transportation, we still face the same challenges, also at treatment and also at reuse. So each and every part of the chain needs to be well designed according to what works best within your community. So I'll speak to the different components of fecal sludge management. I'll start with interface. Interface is the part of the toilet that we interact with, basically what we see. It can come in different forms. It can be a drop hole. It can be that various designs that have come up over time because of innovations, of course, to try and promote access to sanitation facilities. And then toilet containment is where this wastewater or fecal matter is stored. It can be mixed or it can be separated, where the urine is separated from the feces, depending on the type of technology that has been employed. Of course, the type of containment, there's dry and wet. In the case of a wet, the containment will also work. Sorry, can we move? Next slide. Next slide, please. Okay. So when we talk of wet toilet options, this is where we use water to help as a conveyance for the fecal matter or the urine for it to be treated. In this case, we can have a full flush toilet or a pour flush toilet, and the type of technology which is used at containment usually is a septic tank soakaway, a cesspool, which is basically a sealed containment, or in some communities, you find they'll have decentralized wastewater treatment facilities, which are called DWATs. Next slide, please. In the case of dry toilet options, we are now faced with, there's a paradigm shift now going on where the world is promoting new innovations in toilet technologies, where it has been realized that we cannot always have water-borne toilets, but we should promote, where possible, dry sanitation, which can easily feed into a fecal sludge management chain within an area. So options, we have, of course, drop hole with a containment of a cesspool or a decomposing pit. Decomposing pits are very common here in Zambia. Urine diversion dehydration toilets, UDDT, these are container-based toilets. I want to believe, I think from the Ministry of Water's perspective, this is a technology that we are still trying to have people have more acceptance to it, because there's a lot of cultural issues related to the use of UDDTs. So we are still trying to change mindset so that people appreciate this. Yeah. Then we also have incinerator toilets. These have never been seen here in Zambia. Of course, they are available in other parts of the world. And basically, the idea is to promote dry sanitation, which uses little to no water. I'm showing some examples in this picture of UDTTs at the far end, how it looks, where the urine is separated from the fecal matter when someone uses the toilet. There's no special use that is, or special way in which you use the toilet. You just basically go and use it normally. But as you're using the toilet, the wet and the dry matter, or the wet and the solid matter, are separated and they're collected separately. This has allowed for further reuse or safer reuse of the material that is gotten from the toilets. Back to the same slide. I wish you could see this, though the lighting is gone up. This toilet here, this toilet at the far right, this picture was taken by one of my colleagues in the field in Lusaka when we're doing enforcement. It's basically a pedestal, but with no privacy around it. When the inspection was done, it was found that it had fresh fecal matter in it. So we were wondering, how do people use it? So, well, from our basic knowledge, we probably thought that it's used at night by the community, but then this just gets to show you that even in such a situation, people still need to use these facilities. So there's need to promote uptake. Next slide. The next component of the FSM chain is on emptying, which I will explain as either manual or mechanical. And some of the issues which, okay, you allow me to just cruise through this because of time. Okay, next slide. I'll explain on manual emptying. Here in, I'll speak about Lusaka. The issue that we've had is we have mostly pit latrines, but we've slowly, through the commercial utility which provides the services for the local authority, been trying to engage individuals within communities who are engaged in illegal emptying of pit latrines. So the commercial utility has been able to bring the colleagues who are emptying manually, illegally, they bring them on board, they train them on the do's and don'ts, they train them on also occupational health hazards relating to the kind of business that they do. And then where possible, they assist them with relevant tools that they can use to prevent environmental contamination and also protect themselves as they are carrying out the business. Here in Lusaka, we've tried different technologies for emptying. We've tried the Galpa and other types of technologies. However, we still have challenges, mainly because of one, the type of waste that is found in the toilet facilities in the containment. The last picture on my far on my far left is showing a lot of solid waste, which is found in these containments. And when you find a lot of solid waste, this has a huge effect on the rest of the FSM chain and treatment as well. So, well, it brought to light that you cannot do or cannot preach FSM without also pushing through or improving the effectiveness of solid waste management. That way, you improve on the quality of waste as it's being collected so that you can promote reusability. The other challenges with manual emptying is that accessibility to high density areas has been an issue, and thereby promoting, as you can see, manual emptying where people have to carry the fecal sludge in barrels from one place to a central place where it can be transported. So the constant carrying, of course, of these 60-liter barrels can lead to an occupational hazard. So we hope with time, we can get to a standard like this where we improve on the quality of waste in the pits, and then we can have more mechanized type of fecal sludge management at emptying stage. Okay. So I've just mentioned these, the major challenges, accessibility. Oh yeah, when it comes to mechanical emptying, what has happened is that we usually practice this, like this is for the whole country's perspective, for septic tanks and soakaways, where we have vacuum tank operators emptying these facilities. And we don't have a lot of smaller units of vacuum tankers. We are yet to obviously try and see how the industry responds to this and see how we can have more innovative ways brought on board where we can promote accessibility. The other issue is they are expensive to operate because, of course, it requires fuel, and in other places you may require electricity to operate. Next slide, please. So manual emptying is also quite common here in Zambia for also septic tank and soakaway. This picture is not a Zambian picture, but I'm sharing it with you so that you understand that this is the situation even here. What interested me about this picture is that there's a small light there, meaning that these people do this at night. And of course, for obvious reasons, it's not a job which many people are proud of. However, through various means and different stakeholders, we're trying to normalize fecal sludge management so that society may accept it and see it as a way in which we improve the sanitation situation. So I think I've briefly spoken to this, where I've talked about the differences in manual and mechanical emptying. Of course, mechanical emptying is the best because it's fast and generally efficient, but it still has challenges, of course, with the expense, and it's also capital intensive as well as operations and maintenance. So I think this is something which, well, at government level, probably at the ministry's level, it's something which will have to be looked into so that you try and promote more uptake. I'll look at the part of transportation. Of course, with FSM here in Africa, as well as in Zambia, we are using barrows. This is mainly because of the issue of accessibility, and then it's taken to a secondary point where it is transported to a treatment facility. Next slide, please. For treatment, we have, of course, FSTPs, fecal sludge treatment facilities, and in many cases we have wastewater treatment facilities which have been made into a hybrid, which have been made hybrid in nature, where they can accept both septage and also fecal sludge management for treating. So we have sedimentation or thickening ponds, and in some places, thereafter, we have unplanted drying beds, planted drying beds, composting, and also anaerobic biogas reactors. Basically, ways in which we can treat fecal sludge at treatment facilities. So this is just showing us a picture of what is good practice. Of course, what is happening here, this is not allowed, where the vacuum tanker is just pouring directly into a nearest water body. However, this is still a reality in some places, okay? Next slide, please. For disposal and reuse, the main driver for disposal is nutrient recovery from the urine and the feces. And in some cases, it has been seen that irrigation of the wastewater from these treatment facilities can be used, but it is being promoted mostly in tree plantations and where you have non-edible, where you can grow non-edible food plants. And then you can also use it for stabilization of sludge or as a soil conditioner. Of course, you can use the stabilized sludge, for soil conditioner. And in other places, they have been able to harness the calorific value of fecal sludge and use it to create briquettes, charcoal briquettes. This has been seen as one of the innovative ways to try and curb deforestation and allowing for options within communities for different energy levels. So, I mean, different energy needs. So of course, there's the processing, which will require dewatering, pasteurization, or sterilization. And the main two products, as I mentioned, we have briquettes and also soil conditioner. So with everything I've said, I thought to myself when I make this presentation, like, why should we bother? Why should we sit here and discuss fecal sludge management? I'll draw from the first speaker that indeed the whole purpose of having these meetings is to develop a toilet culture for our country, and what definitely speaks to us given the different options. So at this juncture, if you allow me, I'll speak to the situation in Lusaka and why this issue is of much importance. So first and foremost, or most importantly, is because of the exposure pathways. When we have fecal matter being found in the environment, various people can be exposed to it through various means. Children can be exposed to it, as well as, children and basically families can be exposed to it. One of the major issues, which of course has been, is a major correlation here in Zambia, is groundwater contamination. So this picture here, this is a shallow well, and that is a toilet facility, which is basically what is in this picture, where it's clearly showing that there's direct communication between the pit from the toilet and the well where people are drawing water. Same situation here. This means that people are being exposed to fecal matter directly. There's no means of any treatment, nothing is happening. When they draw this water, it's like raw sewer. I also want to bring to light the groundwater vulnerability map for Lusaka. This, next slide. This boundary here, this is Lusaka district, the capital city of Zambia. And if you look here, this is red, where it's very red, it shows extremely highly vulnerable groundwater. And much of the red part is on the western part of Lusaka, where we have the high density population, where we have also the low income residential areas. So in these areas, we have a challenge of also sanitation coverage regards offsite sanitation. So we really do have a problem there. In these areas, you can dig a hole, even 2 meters, you've already hit the water table. So if people have containerized toilets, I mean, if people have pit latrines there, which are not lined, it means that they are speaking to the previous picture that is there. We've had, I'll draw from the previous speaker, we've had cholera outbreaks here in Zambia, and many of them have started here in Lusaka, basically because of this problem. Lusaka sits on dolomite rock, which is limestone rock, and we've got high groundwater vulnerability. So we really need to improve our sanitation coverage, not only by off-site sanitation, but also by on-site sanitation, and having a very good fecal sludge management system. This is the sheet flow diagram, which was done for Lusaka in 2018. So the more green you have in a sheet flow diagram means that you are safely managing your sanitation. But for Lusaka, this is as at 2018, we had more red, and much of it was coming to fecal sludge not being emptied on this part, and also what was being emptied not being delivered for treatment. So we still need to tighten our boats, especially when it comes to enforcement, which of course is the role of the local authority. Well, with this slide, which is my last slide, I would like to conclude by saying, why do we have to do fecal sludge? Why do we bother? Or why should we think about it so much? Well, it's simple. Firstly, we need to protect public health. Public health, this is looking at people's health and also protecting the children of tomorrow and our generations to come. We need to protect our natural resources. As I mentioned, Lusaka is very vulnerable to water. We will not get water anywhere else, but only from our resources. And lastly, is to restore dignity to society, because the way we carry ourselves, the toilets that we use speak so much to our culture and of course, the dignity of our society. So I would like to urge everyone here to really think about how we are going to draw, or how we are going to come up with, of course, a toilet culture from our country as we end, or as we continue these deliberations. Thank you.